Hi children, today we are going to discuss about improvement in food resources introduction. What is meant by food production and why there is need to improve our food production? Because Indian population is growing very rapidly in the recent years and we need to improve and we need to produce more than a billion tons of grains every year to meet the food demands of the people. The production efficiency of crops as well as livestock can be increased by adopting. There are a number of scientific methods these days or scientific management practices to improve the crop yield, which include undertaking mixed farming. In the mixed farming, you can grow two or three varieties of crops, which increase the crop yield in the short span of time. Next, intercropping. In intercropping also, you can use different varieties of crops to increase the yield, and integrated farming practices like combining agriculture as well as with livestock, poultry, fisheries, beekeeping, that is called as apiculture. Let us see how. Different types of crops. As we all know, there are different types of crops. There are cereals like rice, wheat, maize, bajra, sorghum, millets provide us carbohydrates, whereas pulses like green gram, red gram, and peas, beans, lentils, all this provides us proteins. They are rich in proteins. And oil seeds such as groundnuts, sesame seeds, castor, mustard, and linseeds are rich in oils. They provide us oils. So for our nutrition, all these are necessary, which provide fats. Oils provide us fats, pulses provide us proteins, whereas cereals provide carbohydrates. Next, excluding this, apart from this, there are also vegetables, spices, fruits, which provide us many vitamins as well as minerals, along with small amounts of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And also, fodder crops like oats or Sudan grass are grown as food for livestock. For livestock, also, we are growing the food. Different crops require different climatic conditions, temperature, and duration of light. They are called as photoperiods. So all these type of crops do not require the same type of climate. There should be very different climatic conditions. So that is why in India, more amount of land, agricultural land is being produced under farming. So let us see what are kharif crops as well as rabi crops. Kharif crops are grown during the rainy season from the month of June to October, like paddy, soybean, maize, etc. Rabi crops are grown during winter season from November to April, which provide wheat, grams, peas, mustards, etc. Let us first step. How do we improve crop field? Improvement in the crop field includes three steps. They are crop variety improvement, crop production improvement, and crop protection. Crop variety, crop production, and crop protection. How do we protect from different enemies? First one is crop varieties. Crop variety improvement is done by selecting good varieties of crops. First thing we'll do is selecting the good variety of crops. This is done by hybridization. Let us see what is meant by hybridization. Hybridization is a crossing between genetically dissimilar plants. There are two dissimilar plants entirely different from each other to obtain crops having useful characteristics like disease resistance. The offspring should have disease resistance at good quality and it should also provide high yields. This is about crop variety improvement. And a hybridization may be intervarietal. Intervarietal is in between the two varieties. For example, in between two different varieties is intervarietal or interspecific. It may be between two different species of the same genus or intergeneric, in between the two genera also. Another way of improving crop variety is by introducing a gene to obtain the desired characteristic. So there are no particular characteristic which we desire. Then you can also introduce a new variety of gene into the crop production. This produces genetically modified crops. So you can also introduce a new variety through a gene. This produces genetically modified crops. Next, crop variety improvement is done for the following. First, you have to get higher yield. Next, it should be resistant to biotic as well as abiotic resistance. And you have to change in maturity duration. That means you should have to reduce the duration between sowing and harvesting. After sowing the seed, the harvesting crop should be less. The harvesting period should be less. So you have to change in maturity duration so that farmers can grow multiple crops during the year. In a short duration of span, you can grow, the farmers can grow number of varieties. Next one is wider adaptability to grow crops in different climatic conditions. So the crop should be resistant to different climatic conditions as well. And desirable agronomic characters. Characters like tallness and more branching are useful for fodder crops, and dwarfness is desirable for cereal crops. Next, adding manures. Adding manures is the third step actually for during crop cultivation. Now, the manure contains large amounts of organic matters, whereas fertilizers do not have this organic matter. And manure is prepared by decomposition of animal excreta or plant waste, that is called as animal matter, as well as vermicompost. Manure helps in enriching soil and also nutrients and organic matter, which increases soil fertility. Next, compost and vermicompost. As you all know, earthworms increases the soil fertility. So we can increase the soil fertility by vermicompost. That means vermicompost can be prepared before adding to the soil. This is called as vermicompost. The compost is farm-based material like livestock excreta. It is livestock excreta is compost, whereas the earthworms as well as all earthworms plus the compost is vermicompost. Next, green manure. Green manure nowadays is very popular. So prior to the sowing of crop seeds, some plants like sun hemp and many other like guar are also mulched and can be plowed into the soil. That is called as green manure. These turn into green manure, which helps in enriching the soil nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These are the essential nutrients for the soil, for the crop growth. Next, fertilizers. As you all know, they are commercially produced. They are synthetically made, but they produce, if we use them in larger quantities, they increase water pollution, air pollution, and also the soil nutrients can be reduced. Irrigation. The supply of water to the agricultural lands is called as irrigation. This include wells, canals, rivers, and tanks. Cropping patterns. Let us see what are the cropping patterns. Mixed patterns. Mixed cropping is growing like 2 or more cropping can be done simultaneously, like wheat and gram can be done, wheat and mustard can be done, or groundnut and soil can be done, sunflower can be done. This reduces risk even if one crop fails. Next, crop rotation. So in the 8th class also we have studied about crop rotation. The growing of different crops on a piece of land in a pre-planned succession is called as crop rotation. Crop rotation should be done to replenish the soil nutrients. If we grow same type of crop all the year, then the nutrients in the soil decreases. So crop rotation is practiced, should be practiced by the farmers. Storage. After harvesting of the crops, then storage of the grains should be very much essential. So there are many enemies like biotic as well as abiotic factors. Biotic factors include our insects, rodents like rats, fungi, mites, and bacteria. And abiotic factors include moisture as well as temperatures. That is why while storing the grains, you have to be very careful and we have to dry them in the sunlight to prevent from moisture as well as rotting. So how do you storage the grains is by fumigating to kill pests. That means which damage the grains. So that should be fumigated to kill pests. These are about the storage of grains.